G'day legends, g'day superstars. Peps back with another season preview for it. Now, when it comes to the Hawthorn Football Club, I've gone back to the source. I have gone back to the great man, Daz, from Talking Hawks, and more importantly, Daz Talks Footy on YouTube. How are you, great man? And tell me, how are you feeling? Because at the time of this recording, you've just had your first practice match roll out against the Cats, and I was a bit timid when we were about to go to air because we didn't know where this one was going to go and what mood you would be in. So I'll just give you a moment to reflect and embrace everything. And more importantly, if you need to get something off your chest, go right ahead.
Well, great, man. First of all, thank you for having me back on. And for the listeners that maybe listened in last year, probably thinking, I don't recognise this guy's voice. And that's probably right, because last time I was on, it sounded like I was on a satellite phone from the back of Baghdad. So it's good that people are actually able to hear me this time. So I appreciate that, mate. And how am I feeling? Personally, I feel like I made two of the greatest decisions of my life today, mate. The first one being I went into the work office today, and that's always beautiful to do because the power actually went out in my joint, so I wouldn't have been able to get much done. So good decision there. And number two, I went and played golf after 5 o'clock, so I missed the last half of the Cats game. And given what I saw in the first half, I feel like that was a decision made for the betterment of my mental health. So
well, I'm going to throw this one out to you because he's a good mate of mine. He joins us on the show regularly. It's Heathy Buxton. Known him for over 35 years, and he's just written a note on the bloke's WhatsApp chat. And for all the Hawthorn supporters, this is probably putting everything into about 100 characters or less. I understand it's only a practice match. Mm-hmm. Added it's against the Premiers, but scoreboard alone, that was embarrassing.
Yeah. Believe it or not, the scoreboard's actually where I feel the least embarrassment.
I think it was 40 scoring shots to 20.
To be honest, yeah, that sounds about right. And
about right.
Yeah, it was just, look, I'll happily accept rust, but I think that goes out the window about 8 minutes in, doesn't it?
Look, I'd say there's easing yourself into the season, but probably peaking around about round 20 or 21, probably leaving it a bit late. All right. Talk to me about your Hawks, because they're a fascinating mob. You can obviously see what's happened with Mitchell coming in, pretty much cutting the guts out of everything and rebuilding it from scratch as well. Disappointing year last year, we knew that. This year, we don't know what's going to be served up. Out of all the clubs I'm trying to get a picture on, Hawthorn, I can't, just simply because I go through the names and I struggle to name, I'll probably say more than 10 to 12 of a name base. And then there's a lot of people I just don't know anything about. So, I know the top end talent, but outside of that, it's really difficult for me to even come in with, what my thoughts are so far. So it's going to be a big responsibility on your massive shoulders here, Daz. But just give us a bit of a synopsis, a bit of a snapshot for how 2022 finished and where you can see the club going in 2023. Just expectations from the playing list, from the club, even from a supporters level at this particular moment in time.
Yeah, so 2022, I heard you say the word disappointing before. I'm not really sure that that's the case. The second half of the year, obviously better than the first half. Of course, we had the highlights like beating Port in round 2, which was probably one of the best team performances from a Hawthorn team I've seen probably since that 2015 flag, which is extraordinary to think about. And, of course, only the second last team to beat the Cats in a premiership season game. I'll take that as a Hawthorn fan. But
yes,
yeah, the second half of the year produced some gems from a personal point of view. Maybe not the results that we were looking for, but pick 7 in the end. I don't think many Hawks fans were disappointed with that at all. And then, when you've got Ben McAvoy, won 2 flags, Liam Shields won 3, Tom Mitchell and Jaeger O'Meara, of course, didn't win flags with us, but Mitchell at Brownlow and Jaeger we gave up a lot for, although if you actually go back and see the players selected with those picks, maybe it wasn't as bad a trade as people think it is, but that's a story for another day. Yeah, big losses, especially considering Jaeger today made it into Freo's leadership group, so a massive congratulations to the Croatian bombshell himself. And Mitchell carving it up at the Pies, apparently, which is, again, fantastic for those blokes. And gamble responsibly, mate. But I've got a few dollary doos on Mitchell winning the Brownlow this year. So.
Old sheepdog, eh? Racks up 40, doesn't do much with him. Yep, I get that. Yeah, he's... Yeah, Tom Mitchell is another story for another day. I look at him and he reminds me like I said, he gets 40, but how damaging they are is a different story when you might get someone like a Connor Rosie, like the way he was tearing it up towards the end of the year where he might get half of that, but was just making a difference forward of the ball as well too. So, you know what? He's out of your hair. You've got some new blood coming in as well too. And the interesting thing is, like, you look at your list changes in the AFL season guide and your group has the biggest block for the arrival of the departures. Like, I'm looking at Carl Amon's come in. Fergus Green's come in, delisted free agent. Bailey McDonald's come in from the draft. Cameron McKenzie's come in. You got Lloyd Meek traded from Fremantle. A few other Cooper Stevens come in as well too, and a few trades obviously out. But then Mitchell's definitely a loss. Tom Phillips, interestingly, like, you remember when he was at Collingwood, he was just really doing well on the wing. Gets sort of delisted by them. There was a couple of clubs in the hunt for him. He went to your mob and then just couldn't nail it.
Essentially got him for free. We traded him for a pick that Collingwood didn't use, so cost us nothing. And we seem to like to do that with wingmen. Shout out Tom Scully if he's listening. Didn't pay much for him either, and worked out for a year, and the last two weren't great, but it's just, I don't know, it's the Hawthorn way.
We always paid a fair bit for him from my club. Daniel Howell's obviously gone. Another one that I saw, Kyle Hardigan's obviously gone, Connor Downey. So it looks like he's looking at, okay, who's going to be with the club for the next 3 to 5 years? And anyone he can't see, I'm just letting go, and I'm just going to bring in the freshness and start it from scratch as well. And Liam Shields has gone over to North as well too. So interestingly enough, though, I did go to the game when you played Melbourne at the G, and mind you, you almost took it from us that day. The thing that I noticed about Mitchell and the way that he coaches is he's a little bit like John Longmire, where he doesn't always just go with the same – look like he doesn't go with the same plan every week. He's more willing to go, all right, what do I need to do to stop the opposition? So he was the first one to decide to go, hey, you know what? I'm going to tag Ed Langdon on the wing. I'm actually going to have someone stay back as almost like a centre-half forward and play on Stephen May. So just the analytics of how he looks at, okay, how not just about us, but how can I stop them? I think that was a positive to definitely come out of the season as well too. And you've got to remember, you did actually have 8 wins.
Yeah, which is something even I think Hawthorn fans have slightly forgotten. But you speak about the Langdon one, and that's exactly right. I think, when you've got a midfield of Mitchell and O'Meara, who were basically half-forward flankers by the time we got to Melbourne. So, is Josh Ward really going to stop Clayton Oliver? I mean, I love Wardy. No. Finn McGuinness could have done a job on one of them, potentially. Wasn't going to stop the other one. So what were they going to do? The Hawks knew they were going to give up clearances. They had to back in their ability to clear the ball from D50, and when Melbourne did a better job of that, they had to stop the ball getting from arc to arc because we didn't have the pace to go with them. So I thought it worked beautifully. I do have to give a shout out to fellow Talking Hawks alumnus Smithy, the great man who I've known since high school, who actually wrote for Talking Hawks saying Mitchell had to do it. Yep. So he called it early, the great man, and I've got to give him due credit for that. But yeah, I think at times we saw glimpses, and Mitchell's vision is clearly, if I'm going to get sacked one day, and every coach does eventually, I'm going to do things my way. I'm probably going to have one chance to win a flag at the Hawks, so no one's sticking around that's not going to be a part of the flag, and I think he knows the timeline of that is still at least probably 3 seasons away.
I think the offspring said it best when they sang "Come Out Swinging," because that is what he's basically doing. He's saying, listen, my team, you want to have a crack at me? I'll have a crack straight back at you. I'm doing it my way.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
Pretty
and
much.
Yes, you're going to feel a bit of pain right now, but the pleasure will come divinal style. Sicily takes out your best and fairest last year. Jai Newcomb has just been a revelation since coming on board. Dylan Moore had a great season. Blake Hardwick, Dylan Moore, Jai Newcomb and James Sicily all played every game last year, and you literally look at what your top 4 in your best and fairest was, and it was pretty much those 4 players.
Yep.
So consistency, obviously getting on the park is one thing, but doing it week in, week out, which is what those 4 did. Jacob Kazitsky, absolutely awesome. I'm going to ask you about a guy a little bit later on. I don't know where he sits. I don't know what his future is. You know him as the Chad. I want to find out from you because he's a bit of I love you, I hate you type of thing too. But it's just so much goodness to come out of the Hawks last year. I did say disappointing because I think it might have been when I was looking at the wrong list when I thought I actually finished lower on the ladder. I must admit. But then when I looked at it, actually had it higher. So for the people listening now, I will take disappointing back. Unlike any other mainstream media people, I do make mistakes occasionally. But that's got to be exciting for you to sort of see those young guys coming on. But one of your full forwards, who's gone down with the knee?
Mitch Lewis.
That's going to be the hard one because I love Kajitsky, but I think Mitch Lewis has like grunt and spunk about him.
Yeah, and he earned the role in the leadership group, which got announced about a week ago, and you could just see it. He is a big man in presence, stature, and height and weight, and he's extremely vocal as well, which is something we hadn't really seen from Mitch in the past, and that really came out, which was really good. But he's the kind of guy you can set in your goal square and build a forward line around him. So, yeah, honestly, you look at Newcomb, I even look at Sicily as captain. Mitch Lewis right now is our most important player. He's not going to be there for a month, an opening month in which we've got some extremely winnable games on paper, and after today, maybe less so. But, yeah, we're going to miss him greatly. Kicked third most goals per game last year, Mitch Lewis, which will probably surprise some people.
He was, like I said, he is a big boy. And, we always talk about Curnow and Mackay or Cameron and Hawkins. You've got a really nice pair in there of Kajitsky and Lewis, and it is a real shame to see them not be together for virtually all this year too. So when you want to have some hope, it hurts when that sort of stuff happens. Now, if we have a look, you mentioned it about your fixture and the first number of games, etc. Let's get into it. So when we get to the Liz Smiley ski double-ups, you've got Fremantle, Greater Western Sydney, Melbourne, North Melbourne, St Kilda, and Western Bulldogs. Very, very winnable games, I would say. Fremantle here. GWS, we don't know what GWS is going to turning up. Melbourne, I think that'll be a bit of a tough one. North, definitely could get both of those. St Kilda, they're a bit of an anomaly at the moment, and the Western Bulldogs as well too. So out of those 6, you could easily walk away with, I could honestly say 6 to 8 wins out of that. So anything else on top of that would be definitely a bonus. And then your first 4, Essendon at home, Garrett, I would say definitely a win on that. Sydney away, and I reckon that would be the game that Mitchell would be priming for. If we can get a win on the road against last year's grand finalists, that would be a massive feather for my cap, but for the club as well.
Got a record of the SCG too.
So you could potentially be 3-1 heading into the road trip down to Cardinia Park.
Yeah, there's a very real chance that, we'll take some away from the Geelong game. Most of it second-hand embarrassment for the fans, which is understandable, and some frustration. I don't really care about the Collingwood game at the moment. Down in Tassie, we'll try some things. If the Essendon game goes pear-shaped, and by pear-shaped I'm talking 20+, we're in for some pain, and I think most Hawthorn fans will be watching Harley Reid throughout the year, who's going to be the number 1 pick, just to see if the Hawks can get him. So in my mind, no game is going to be bigger than this one against the Bombers, regardless of where we're at. So I'm looking forward to it immensely. And we're just going to, good thing that the Bombers don't actually have any key defenders. They've just got failed forwards down there, which will be good for, they've got likes of Cozzy, a failed defender himself turned forward. Emerson Jecker potentially down there, Lloyd Meeker's done some nice things in the off-season. But, if that Essendon game can be a positive one, then, 2-2, 3-1, looking very, very much on the cards.
You'd be happy. You'd be happy with that type of start because you just want to give some faith to the supporters as well too, and the players need that within themselves too. Like there's nothing worse. I played a year of footy where we lost 18 games. We lost every game for the year.
Yeah.
And by the end, you're counting down the weeks because
I've done that. Yeah.
We're wasting time. We're wasting time. So you need to have some inner belief that we are a chance. Your last 3 of the Western Bulldogs at home, Melbourne away, and Fremantle at home as well too. So those last 3 could be a bit challenging for you, and hopefully the wheels haven't fallen off. And you know what I mean respectfully when I say that tiredness hasn't kicked in. And there's a statistic that I saw in the season guide which sort of encapsulates what Hawthorn were last year, and I'll get into that in a moment. And you got the 12th hardest draw according to the AFL fixture as well too. One thing that stood out to me when I was having a bit of research about your club too, and it's when you hear it, you'll go, it makes sense. Last year, you were ahead in 8 games in the first quarter, but ended up losing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're literally getting to quarter time lead in front, and then whether it's just the experience of the list, aging of the list to a degree, injuries within the list, whatever it might be, just teams tend to overrun you. So you have great starts, but just weren't able to push that through to the end of the game as well. So even from a halftime perspective, there was 3 games where you were at front at halftime and ended up losing, and there was a couple of them that you were at 3/4 time losing. So just being able to just close those games out was a real challenge for you last year.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm a big advocate for this rule, so that I'm not using this as an excuse. But geez, the 666 hurts a bad clearance team late in games. Yep. My goodness, when Sam Frost did go down, not making excuses, but Denver Granger Barris and Jimmy Blank, you've got a guy who was taking pick 6, but in the most COVID affected draft at that time, for whatever it's worth, and a guy we picked up in the mid-season draft. When those 2 guys are on, blokes bigger, stronger, more experienced, and the midfield can't win a contest, it was a recipe for disaster the whole way through. So as much as I admire the fact we have to go out, try to punch teams in the mouth, very much metaphorically there.
And I'm handing up with you, buddy. When it comes to 666, I'm not a big fan of it.
Really?
No, I'm not a big fan of it. And here's my reason why. They got rid of it to stop teams from flooding.
Correct.
My opinion, if you get yourselves in front, you should be allowed to put anyone anywhere. Plus also, teams used it as an attacking method. So they used to have 2 men come off the back of the square to make it a 4-on-6 in the middle of the ground to get the clearance. But no one ever thought of it that way. They always thought of it, we've got to make it even. Why does the game have to be even all the time? Yeah. Why do they have to make it so everybody's got a chance? It's like when they bounce the ball and it goes skew-if. Let it go. Like, why does everything have to be even? You're going to get a duck over here and you're going to get a drake over there. Everybody gets their comeuppance. I don't like it why they try to, because when they make it even for everybody, the stronger, faster, better teams are going to destroy the weaker. And that's exactly what you just said.
Yeah. But and this is where we disagree. That's a good thing for me. Make the bad better. As best you can. At some point, Jimmy Warple and do I have to talk about him later? Josh Ward, Jai Newcomb, Connor McDonald, Connor Nash, these guys, at some point have got to put their hand up, look at Neil, Dunkley, Ashcroft, or look at Oliver, Petrarca, Viney and go, you know what? We want to start winning these games. We're going to have to beat you with no help. I think it's going to make either the bad team's better or the bad team's worse, in which case I think you're going to learn more. I think you're going to go on a fact-finding mission, and it's up to a guy like that. Yeah, and it's up to a footy brain like Mitchell's to go, what can we do here?
So you're not going to get that analysis, listeners, on AFL Daily with Damien Barrett. No. You get that with Peps and Daz. All right?
Right, absolutely.
I'm talking Hawks and lace out. Hey, can you tell me about Luke Bruce? How much longer has he got? Is this his last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd have to be. Yeah, 260 games at the club, 4-time premiership player.
3. Wasn't quite.
He didn't play 2018. That was that Shields played the
2009 rookie draft. Nope.
Well, there's one that I keep getting mixed up with.
The only ones who played in all 4 were Buddy, Lewis, Sam Mitchell, Grant Birchall.
He's the one he's sort of that outlier that I always get confused. So I take that back. I told you at the start, people. Like when it comes to the Hawks,
the great man himself. I love Grant Birchall.
He's destroyed many a team off his own. And Gunston leaving, I think he's going to leave a massive hole.
I can't believe you've brought that up.
Now I'll bring it up. Which one do you want to talk about first, Gunston or Warple?
I love.
We're talk about the good or the bad or the worse.
We'll talk about Gunners.
What about Gunners?
So my first memory of Gunners, watching him in Adelaide, I went into year 10 English. This might be showing my age a little bit because I'm used to being called the baby of the group, and then every time I talk about old players, I have to keep going further and further back. But watched him at Adelaide when he had the horrific blonde tips. I don't know if you remember Gunners coming out of Victoria, going to Adelaide. He had the long sleeve jersey on, and Clarko knocked that out of him real quick with the blonde tips, and thought he's got a bit of something. As soon as he came to the Hawks, Smithy went, this guy's going to be a star. So we watched him closely. He became the favourite, and then he's taken off. So I hope Brisbane win the flag because he's a great man, Gunners. I've had the chance to meet him a couple of times, and I wish him well. But geez, that hurt. Him leaving hurt more than Bud. It hurt more than Hodgie. It hurt more than Mitchell. So my love for Gunners is never ending, and I wish him all the best.
And you have a look at his career as well too. So he's 225 games, the 430 goals. Like Not many people get over 200, 300. He's at 430. There is, how many years is he up there for? 2? What do you get?
2. Yeah.
2. He could end up a 500 goal kicker.
Yep.
And he's going to be in rare air at that particular level. And if things go to plan, he may even scrape in he might scrape in. I don't think he will, but for 500 or 300 games, I reckon he'll end up about 5 or 6 games short, poor bloke.
Yeah, he does have a trigger for a third year, but even if he plays every game and 3 finals, I think that gets him to 75, which would be, 296 from what you just said?
I think he's one, so I think he ends up like 2 or 3 short. That's why I worked out, he don't play 24 games a season. But if they do, because they've added that extra round, he gets an extra 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you never know. And if they ever decide to throw in wild card round, he might even get an extra final as well too.
Or he might just kick after the siren. He might just shank one in the qualifying final and get the extra semi-final in, which would be real.
No, they don't do that anymore. It's they have extra time on, which kind of sucks. No,
as in they deliberately lose it. So they would have to play the semi instead of going straight to the prelim. Yeah.
I reckon Sam Mitchell would do that. If he was on 299 and he had to kick after the siren and it was a qualifying final, he'd deliberately miss it so he'd get the extra.
Well, Isaac Smith did that and I still haven't forgiven him. So.
Hey, I'll tell you one person that you mentioned a little bit earlier on that a lot of Hawthorn people, and you got to help me out with this one. James Warple, like he's a criminal medalist.
Yep.
We thought he could have been anything. What's happened to him in the last couple of seasons?
Well, it just didn't work with Tom Mitchell. So Jimmy Warple likes having his hands on the footy first, which in 2019 he was able to do that with Mitchell's broken leg. So he became kind of what Collingwood, I think the media wanted Jordan De Goey to be at that time, just during that year period. And what that was a guy who went into the middle, liked to fend, and just consistently moved the ball forward. Now, we know Jordy De Goey is a much more explosive midfielder than Jimmy Warple was and is. And then, since Tom Mitchell came back in and he kind of had to develop into a second or third hands kind of guy in the contest, he got a bit lost. He did his shoulder. He lost confidence. He's been dropped a few times. And now that Tom Mitchell's been let go, we as Hawthorn fans, and I think Hawthorn themselves, went, all right, mate, you enjoy it. It's your midfield. And I know there's been some reports that say he's flying, but I went and watched the intra-club game about a week ago. I watched his first half of this game, and the poor bloke by foot just seems to have lost all confidence, which for me is a concern. But my word, I hope he turns it around because he's just pick in the 40s, Geelong Falcons captain, ripper bloke, just by foot. He just, it's kind of that tear your hair out style, and a little bit like Jack Viney early, by foot, where Jack used to just over kick him a touch, especially to a leading forward. There's a little bit of that.
Or they'd drop short. It was over the top or they'd drop short. There wasn't that. But he's worked on it a hell of a lot.
Yes, absolutely. He was either shoelaces or the roof. He struggled in between.
So you're basically telling me Warple was someone who started literally like a house on fire, but for whatever reason over the last number of years, his confidence has just waned and he's a shell of his former self.
Yeah, he wasn't the number one man. So I think he's turning 24
theoretically, he's the Hawthorn version of Ben Simmons.
No, not that bad.
A lot less funny and probably a lot less better looking girlfriend.
I'm not sure. I think he might be a single man, Jimmy Warple. But I'm hoping he can turn it around because I'm not the kind of supporter that sits here and goes, "Oh, bloke shot." But in terms of a bloke who needs a good year to save his career, him and Jacob Kazitsky are 1 and 1A on that little plane.
Yeah, I think. But the thing is that you can replace midfielders. You can't really replace big forwards, and we know they take a little bit longer. So if you had to pick the two, who's more replaceable? The midfielder or the forward?
We're going to replace them both at the end of the year. Luke McCabe's boys, 196 centimetre, playing key forward at under 18 level. So there is an option there if we want it.
Is he father's son?
Still on the list. Yes, he is. Luke McCabe's boy. Number 7 for the Hawks back in the early 2000s. Good little half-forward player. No idea how a bloke that small got a 194 centimetre kid, by the way, but that's just...
His wife might be tall.
The biological anomaly in and of itself. But, he's going to be really, really good. And I've got my eye on Xavier Dersmer's brother, Zane. I think if he can come in as a pinch-hitting midfielder, half-forward pocket. There you go. It's a new position on the ground. Right. Half-forward flank style.
Is he going to move for the F50 or the D50? Like, make up any spot you want these days, and it's probably a spot, Daz, so there's no issue there. Go with what you feel.
Yeah, I like it. So, I think both of them are in are in some real trouble. If Sam Mitchell says, if you're not going to be a part of the premiership team, I don't want you, they're both out of contract. And considering we've been re-signing seemingly everyone except for Will Day and those two boys at the moment, it's going to be an interesting one. But this is an extremely young group. There was a stat during the week that we've only got one dad on the entire list, that being Tyler Brockman, who's 23 years old. 20 years old. He's got twins.
So do you ever think that they just send the boys in, here's your draft, here's your contract, here's your vasectomy, and then it works with Hawthorn?
Well, Luke Bruce is the only above 30 at time of recording. Chad Wingard and Sam Frost both turned 30 this year. So, yeah, it's overwhelming.
Young. Like, you've only got 8 players over the age of 26.
Yep.
Geelong have those in the high 30s. That's just how nuts it is. Look, you did get a couple move across in the offseason. Carl Amon, there was a lot of talk that he wanted, Hawthorn were keen for him, and he was keen for Hawthorn. So it was interesting. Like, he did have a few choices, but he did go to Hawthorn pretty much off the bat. And then Lloyd Meek is the other one who you mentioned a little bit earlier. I thought he did some okay things for Fremantle as well too. So I think he was just, was that hole with Jackson coming in, it's going to make it difficult to keep a spot too. So you get a bigger guy down there. But Carl Amon, where do you see him slotting into your midfield?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. I think he is just purely almost a designated kicker. Where he lines up is almost irrelevant at this point, but I think it's definitely either a wing or as the third midfielder. We don't need him winning contested ball, even though we did pretty well at Port last year. Led their Brownlow count last year, Carl Amon, and oh boy, didn't that cost some bettors money who had Connor Rozee probably at $1.01. Geez, didn't that take some out of pocket? My goodness. But
the bookies are crying, aren't they?
Yeah.
Jeez, joy.
Yeah, they're missing out, aren't they? But his movement by foot is just beautiful, and you can just tell how mature he is as a bloke. I do wonder if he was told Mitchell, O'Meara and Gunston weren't there before he signed, because he was the first free agent move. Mm-hmm. So that might have been a bit of a culture shock for him. But yeah, just a beautiful, silky, smooth mover who the Hawks desperately need. So a huge tick. And Lloyd Meek right now, I think, needs to play as our deepest forward. Ned Reeves is clearly the better tap ruckman, although I did like what I saw from Lloyd Meek for as much as I got to watch today. I think Lloyd showed a decent amount forward throughout the preseason. You can only play who you're up against, of course, but yeah, I think he plays out of the goal square. Cozzy's got to be our centre half forward so he can move athletically. He clocked up our quickest time last year, something like 36 kilometres an hour. He was running for good stretches last year. So if he can use his athleticism and if he doesn't run so hard, maybe he can get a bit more momentum in his goal-kicking run-up. Just next time you see it, and again, I'm not here to pop the bloke, but he'll walk in at pace, and that final step where he plants his left foot to kick, he stops.
Yeah, you need momentum. You got to kick
all momentum stop, which means his right leg's got to overcompensate, and that's why he swings it to the left, kind of like a golf shot. And it's a bit frustrating because for the first 2 years of his career, he couldn't miss. It was beautiful. So hopefully he's working on those things. But I think our forward setup at the moment is going to be Lloyd Meek in the goal square, Cozzy at centre half forward, and I think Fergus Green plays round one, and we use his athleticism and better overhead marking than his size suggests to fill a Jack Gunston role, although with all due respect to Ferg, he's got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, definitely. There was a guy that came across, I think that might have been the year before. Geez, he had a bad run of it, Max Lynch. Like, I was just having a look at his history. He had a concussion.
Yep.
Then he was emergency for a while. Then got COVID. Came back from COVID. Got concussed again.
Yep.
And then basically spent the rest of the year in the VFL.
You missed one.
What?
He got stung by a bee.
They don't put that in the season guide, mate. They only put in concussions, neck. There's no bee.
He got concussed the first time. He got COVID. He recovered from COVID. Walked into the club 2 days later, walked back into his house and got an allergic reaction from a bee sting and missed 3 weeks. How bloody unlucky can a bloke get?
I don't think, which cat walked in front of me as I threw the salt over my shoulder and
walked under the ladder. Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough. That is rough. I don't even know where to go from that. You got a new captain too, James Sicily.
Yeah.
I know he's your BNF. Once again, my mate Heathy Buxton, as we mentioned a little bit earlier on, said hopefully that might lower him down from getting suspended 4 to 6 times this year.
Hasn't been suspended in his last 38 games. So that's a bit harsh on Sis. He was.
Oh no, he's
a fiery boy.
He can just control his temper a bit.
He's grown up a little bit. He hasn't got a suspension for over a year and a half now. That's what we want. Cam Mooney got suspended 4 times in 1 year.
Oh, dude. Who did Cam Mooney? Oh, yeah.
Cam Mooney
good old days.
In 06, yeah.
Good old days. Exactly right. So tell us about that. You happy with it? With it? Was there any other options?
Not in an age demographic. Sis was definitely number one in that department. Pretty happy to see Jarman Impey and Sam Frost, the senior guys, make the leadership group itself. But Sis last year, I mean, he had games, I think of the Carlton game, especially when we were down by 7 goals, and he would just put us on our back. And, you know, we wanted to be a rebounding and transition from defensive 50 kind of team, and he led the charge. And no disrespect to Braden Maynard, but how the hell Sicily wasn't All-Australian last year is ridiculous. Maynard finished 8th in Collingwood's best and fairest. Yes, albeit a better team, but come on, seriously, anyone watch Sicily play last year? So he was the obvious choice, and I love the fact that Dylan Moore was made vice-captain as well after only being delisted 2 seasons previous. So a good, young, upcoming leadership group. And like I said, Mitch Lewis, the 5th man in that group, apart from the 4 already mentioned. So very happy with that leadership group, very happy with Sis. And as long as he stops bashing up Sam Butler, we'll be all right.
Oh, no. Get a dribble. Like, it's like, oh, Hawks getting it. I'm like it happens all the time. Like, it happens, it's happened at a local level. It's
happened to Hawthorn.
It's no Satanta, Jason Cloak.
No, I mean,
stuff. But,
well, 2008, pretty good year for the Hawks. In that pre-season, apparently, Croft punched Hodgie in the mouth. Imagine that happening now. You'd go off.
What about a bit of Dermy, Raiden, Tallis? Like, weren't they the days?
Well, not for Raiden Tallis, I don't think. I think he remembers that.
Dermy, just there was that B that Lynchy got. Easy done. All right, so I think when I look at your list, there's one guy as well, I must admit. And I keep going one guy. But there's this young bloke, and geez, he started well, and then unfortunately just got injured. But I just look at everything that you just want from a player. Played 37 games. He wears the number 9.
Yeah. You're going to have a crack.
I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. I'm just going to go CJ.
Come on.
All right, I'll go Chankuth Giath.
You're so close. It's Quoth instead of Cuth. Chanquoth Giath. You've done outstandingly then. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Duolingo. In the App Store.
I'll give you an A-. That was outstanding.
I love it. I just love everything he brings. He wants to take the game on. He just wants to play footy.
Yeah.
And if you're a coach, they're the ones that you want to play, because if you can teach the skill, you can't teach the will. And he's got that. And then when they say there's players just with raw talent, they're the ones that you can mold and shape and just go, mate, see ball, stop your opponent and just go and get the ball and put it down that end of the ground. Yeah, and you missed him big time last year.
Yeah, run 20, kick 50. That's all he has to do every time he gets the footy. He is working on the finesse part of his game. Not his strong point, CJ, but we need to get the great man into open space, take off, break a line and enter inside 50. You look at an Isaac Smith, albeit not as quick, but still lightning fast, was Isaac Smith. I don't remember him kicking less than 30 metres in his entire career. He probably did it at some point. None of them are worth remembering, but as soon as he got it, he bombed it long, and that's kind of what we want CJ to do, but hopefully into a little bit of space, because we don't have the great man Mitch Lewis up forward. But yeah, every time he gets the footy, every Hawthorn fan just smiles, and we hope something good happens. So as long as he's sinking his foot into that footy, we'll be in good shape, I think.
Yeah, I think he's one of those players that I think other people would love to have at their club.
Yeah.
Would love to have it. There's just something about him and the way he takes his footy as well too. You mentioned the hyphen a little bit earlier on, and geez, he's been a bit of a frustrator over the last couple, hasn't he? And it could be, once again, just maybe the expectations from Hawthorn supporters a little bit more, or he's just still young and we've got to appreciate that. But John Denver Granger Barras, he's 195 and 81. Are we Hawthorn Hawthorn supporters know where he's at, or are we expecting too much from him? Because it sometimes feels to me as an outsider, you hear the old, he hasn't come on as quick as we thought, etc. I'm like, well, hold on, he's only been around for 2 years?
Yeah, third pre-season this year, and his first one was COVID affected. But to answer your question, I'm going to answer your question a little bit differently. Do you mind if I go through a quick exercise with you, mate?
I would love for you to. Go for it.
Now, for Hawthorn fans that are listening to this that did listen to the live stream that Talking Hawks did, this might sound repetitive because I did it on there as well, so I apologise. Yep, okay. But don't turn away from the podcast. Maybe just skip about a minute and a half. The rest of the content's outstanding.
No. You can do it on their podcast, not this one. This one. Lace out people haven't heard this one before. Lots of people from different clubs get their analysis from.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you're not a Hawthorn fan, still stick around. But I'm saying those that know what's coming, just maybe a minute and a half, and the rest of this will be great. So here's what.
Yep.
So that's it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read you out every tall, so not the smalls, that were taken in the same draft as Denver in the first round and a half. And you tell me if these guys have come on as much as they should. All right.
Okay.
So if we all admit Denver's not where he should be, and he's not, that's just a fact. Love him or hate him, I love the bloke. He's one of the nicest blokes I've met. But Jamara Ugle-Hagan, has he been outstanding yet?
He's had probably one good game against my mob last year where he kicked 5. Outside of that, up and down like a yo-yo.
Righto. Riley Thilthorpe kicked 5 against us, but then again, Jacob Kaczynski kicked 5 against them.
Probably very similar to Denver, but at the other end of the ground. They expected a lot from him and hasn't really delivered at this stage. Towards the end of the year, a little bit, but no. I'd say no.
Fair enough. Logan McDonald got dropped for the finals, so we can't say he's in.
No, he hasn't had a chance because there's that 36-year-old boy, you don't know me from Without Me by Eminem. But Buddy makes it hard. He got dropped. I'm still amazed. Geez, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall during that conversation to stay. But no, he hasn't had the opportunity, I would say.
All right. Nick Cox.
Sam Regan there. Who?
Nick Cox.
No. Essendon. He hasn't been able to get on the park.
Yeah, his body's let him down. So, okay. Zach Reed at number 10, Essendon.
He hasn't been able to get his body right either.
Key defender. Okay, so might be picking up on something here if we haven't figured it out yet. I'm not counting Heath Chapman as a key defender, but I will give him a tick, Heath. He had an outstanding year last year. But my point is, if we go through some of the other names, right, Will Phillips can't get on the park either, and I feel for him. Elijah Hollins, his last 5 games were outstanding, but again, couldn't break into that Gold Coast team.
Yep.
Luke Pedler couldn't get into Adelaide's best 22 as a midfielder. He's flying on the track, though, which is good. Tanner Bruin barely got a game at the Giants, now down at the Cats. Good luck, son. Tom Powell got dropped from North last year twice.
Yes.
Heath Chapman gets a tick. Connor Stone, I don't even know if he's on GWS's list anymore. Lockie Jones, this is still in the same first round, by the way. Going okay at Port, but we still haven't seen the best of him yet. Ollie Henry couldn't get a game at the Pies. That's why he went to Geelong, because it's going to be easier to break into that side, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Ryan Angwin, not in the league anymore. Finlay McRae, can't get into Collingwood's best 22. Max Holmes, tick. Massive tick from the Cats. That's outstanding. Jake Bowie, definitely going better than Denver at the moment. But
wow, he played 16 games in a flag, or 7 games in a flag. So he's been the anomaly. So you've probably had 4 anomalies out of the whole lot.
Yeah. So pretty handy. And I'll just, a few more. Bailey Laurie from the Ds, we haven't seen yet. Reef McInnes, we've seen twice. Blake Coleman, we haven't seen yet from the Lions. Braden Cook, we've seen a couple of times. Nothing extraordinary yet. Matthew McLeod, Matty Allison just got injured, but was going really well on the track. But still, Denver's performed more. Nathan O'Driscoll, I'm a massive fan of. Geez, Freo did well out of this draft, didn't they? Sam Berry, very good tackler. We'll give him a tick there for the Crows, I reckon. Seamus Mitchell for the Hawks. Maybe the first 2 picks from the Hawks haven't been fantastic here, but Caleb Poulter got delisted from the Pies. Liam McMahon. Sorry, Liam, I actually don't know who you are. And then we'll finish up with Errol Goulden, who's a massive tick from the Swans. So my point here is there's only probably 5 guys in front of Denver, you can say convincingly, with a big group of him and others that are potentially ready to take the next step. Now, whether he does or not is a wait-and-see job. But, yeah, I definitely feel like he is, at the moment, copying a little bit of the Ryan Schoenmakers treatment, and we haven't been able to see him at his best yet. So I'm hopeful without over or underreacting.
Who was the GWS guy, may I ask?
Connor Stone.
He's still there.
He's still there? Okay.
Yep, still there. But 6 games last year.
Oh, my apologies, Connor. No, he's probably
even looking at that, he might be number 6.
Yeah.
And I humbly believe that that entire class of player are a year behind because they couldn't even play VFL footy.
Yep.
Into clubs, like on the Gold Coast, in the paddock next to the giant swing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been tough for them. So, they had a full pre-season, then it all stopped. So they've lost the whole season. So I think that might be a little bit of the lost generation, that particular draft. It wouldn't surprise me if a lot of them don't get a Guernsey because they've missed a year of footy. And at that time, they were cracking picks. But just due to people biting heads off bats, things happen. Not that I'm a scientist, but that's the rumour on the Twitter sphere. All right.
So just take that with a grain of salt, Hawks fans, because he did also cop the greatest jinx of all time. Kane Corn said he'd be the best player out of the draft, so he was screwed from that moment anyway.
But you know what?
Come on, Kane.
You never know. You never know. Like, it's still early days. You just never know. He might have a great season this year. He could just do he could do a David Neitz. David Neitz, if you remember, was a centre half, like a young centre half back, and then
Lynch as well.
Yep, Lynchy as well. Oh, Lynchy, marker the year. Oh, did he fly that day? All right. From the list, there's lots of young kids that we could look at right here. But who's catching your eye at the moment? Who can you see is going to be a riser on the list by the end of the year? They're going to say, I'll tell you what, like, there was a lot of fluff at the preseason, but after listening to Daz on Lace Out, he gave me a tip that I should keep my eye out on this one, and it's exactly right.
Yeah, well, by the way, not to toot our own horn, but Matty and I went 2 for 2 last year. He had Mitch Lewis as the answer to this question. That's a big tick, and I'll give myself a smaller tick for Harry Morrison. He had to prove himself last year and got a 2-year deal out of it.
Yeah.
I'll take that as a tick.
He's very CJ-like, where he's made of the right stuff.
Yeah,
let him play. Obviously, a little bit smaller than.
Yeah, we've got a lot of blokes in his position, but as of last year, I didn't say 2023. Last year, I'll take that as a tick.
Yeah.
All right. So last year, we took Josh Ward at pick 7, or 2 drafts ago now, and all the talk was Joshy Ward. But there's a bloke that we took in that draft that did not get a Rising Star nod, and let me tell you, it was criminal. But by the end of next year, every single person in the footy landscape is going to know, respect, and appreciate Connor McDonald.
Okay.
Good Doveton boy too. They breed him tough out there, let me tell you.
Mate from Doveton.
Yeah,
Scotty Osborne loved it. Oh, no, it's Finley. Sorry. Nah. Doveton, different area. Doveton, is it the Doveton Eagles?
Yep.
Yeah, we used to play footy against them.
Yeah, so did I. And let me tell you, that was an interesting experience. But he's clean mover of the ball. Last year, he was a little bit handball happy early, but geez, his set shot goal kicking, look at the one against Port from that Eddie Betts pocket. My word, that was unbelievable. But half forward player, you know that's the footy graveyard. You look at a Darcy Parish or something who had to start his career there. He'll rotate through the midfield as the year goes on. He's one to watch out for, and the guy that I think is going to make the biggest jump, say, from a B grader to potentially an A grader, Will Day. As long as he stops kicking
Will
on
Day or Connor McDonald?
I'll back my man C-Mac in.
Yeah, you will.
I'll give Wilbur an honourable mention. He needs to stop kicking on his left. Will should just be for balance.
I like Will Day. I like him. But I'll tell you what, Connor McDonald, not Conor McGregor. Another Hailbury College graduate, or conduit, which is kind of exciting because isn't it funny at the moment that the flavour, what's your flavour, Craig David style, is a lot of the private school football rather than the TAC Cup. Kai Turner came out of Melbourne as a supplementary pick out of that as well too. So there's a lot. Usually it used to be the under-18 comp was the pinnacle. It seems to be that the private school football, the AECC competition is really generating a lot of stars. And another Hailbury. Hailbury are turning into a little bit of a football factory. Yeah. A little bit like the Geelong Falcons.
Yeah. Absolutely, the former Bomber champ. But yeah, and you got to remember as well, Hawthorn fans will remember this. We had Tyler Sonzi, who ended up going to Richmond, go to Box Hill for 2 weeks, and everyone went, all right, this is it. The Hawks are taken in. I was steadfast. No, not going to happen. We're not going to take him in that second round. And then Connor McDonald is going beautifully at the moment, and Tyler's fitting in at Richmond very, very nicely. But I'm very happy with the boy from Hailbury. So I think he's going to surprise a few people and go really well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. Now, Funny enough, Hawthorn, it's just surprising me. There's teams here that I have realised that you haven't had a win against for 4 or 5 years. You haven't
Can I have a crack at guessing who they are?
Yeah, go for it.
I've gone through some pain. I reckon it's been a while since we've beaten St Kilda.
2018?
Yeah. And it was kind of like Richmond when we were successful. They just beat us all the time. They were the last team to beat us in 08. It was just extraordinary that we could never beat them.
There's 3 others. One more in 2018 and 2 in 2019.
Poor. Okay.
I'll give you a hint.
Collingwood?
No. I'll give you a hint.
Oh, please do.
I'll give you a hint.
Yeah. You're just moving away. Oh, the D's. Oh, that's what you're doing. How good's that? Dazzling physical comedy at its best there.
Yep. Oh, I'll tell you what, this is first class radio right here. And then you've got Fremantle and Geelong.
Freo were the other ones that came to mind as well.
Which is strange because Hawthorn so dominant for so many years, literally beating everyone, but there's 4 teams that you've had a bit of a growth over. So the interesting is that your longest winning run is actually 22 games against the D's from 1973 to 1984. So we've still got a few more to get to you, but hopefully you can break a couple of those ones, especially the St Kilda games as well too. Now, unfortunately, there's going to be somebody who's going to be sliding on the list. Now, whether it's they're just not good enough, that they're getting a little bit old in the tooth, or they might be better off flying their trade somewhere else. Have you got anyone in mind for that?
It hurts. It hurts me to say it, but I think it's Cozzy.
Yep. Do you reckon is it capability-wise or is it fit-wise?
Not fit-wise. The bloke's fine. He looks like a man that has the confidence of me going up to a supermodel in a nightclub, mate. It's just
chock full.
No, absolutely zero. Let me tell you, and getting worse with every step I get closer. Let me tell you, it's such a shame. We had such a good passage of play going in the Geelong game. He was on his own out the back. He just spilt a mark, which happens. That's not the knock here, but the head dropped. And it was just he just seems like he's inside his own head. So it's the first coaching challenge, I think, for Sam Mitchell is to get the best out of Cozzy because a bloke that good is potentially by the wayside. It's not very often that key forwards get second chances as delisted free agents rather than trades. If that were to happen, a guy like Warple could end up at West Coast next year if he wanted to, or Port if they needed another mid. Maybe not now. They've got Jason Horne-Francis, or could West Coast try to lure Denver home? More likely in terms of a guy that might have to save a one-club career, I think it's more likely to be Cozzy.
Could they go a little radical with this one and put him like a centre-half back?
No, we got enough.
You've got enough?
We drafted him as a defender, but yeah, Jimmy Blank, Sam Frost, Denver already, and Emerson Jekka. We've got to see if they work out first.
You'd go Jekka half forward. Sam Frost won't have too much left in his career, let's be honest.
No, 29 years old, mate, still flying. Still flying, Frosty is.
Yeah, no. Do you go every time he gets the ball, you just close your eyes?
Yeah, I'll do that with a few of them.
Frost ball?
But I would much rather him attack the footy and work it forward than say I'll use another Hawthorn key defender. Back when Chip Frawley would take kick-outs, and that's when your stomach would drop a little bit, and Chip did a fantastic job in the 2015 finals, don't get me wrong, but his footy in hand, you were just...
Yeah, we've been there. We've been there.
yeah.
We've been there. We're just going to go number 8 where you're kicking it. All righty. I want to have a look from a league perspective now. So take the Hawks hat off. We've been doing this as a bit of a, towards a wrap-up side of things as well too, and it's really fascinating what other clubs are thinking of other clubs. So from your perspective, let's go sliders this time. So from a club's perspective, who do you see as the sliders? So what I'm looking at it could be, sliding in the top 8, could be sliding out of the 8. It could even be teams sliding who are around about the mark and going down. It could even be people in the bottom 4 making the bottom. Like it can be anywhere sliding on the ladder. Has anyone sort of caught your eye at this stage thinking, they're in a bit of trouble?
Can I be a bit of a pain and give you 2?
You can have as many as you like.
But I'll give you 2. I'll give you 1 out of the 8 and then like the one you said last time.
You can have, if you want, I'll even give you 3 because normally most people have 2.
Okay.
I can give you 3 because normally when they go, can I give you 2, there's actually a third one pressing, but you didn't want to. Okay. If you want to have 3, you can have 3.
Oh, I appreciate that, mate. So the first one is, do you remember how GWS had to trade up to get pick 1 and Aaron Cadman?
Yes.
They won't need to trade it this year. They'll have it. Giants will finish last.
Ooh, I don't think that's been mentioned so far. I have picked them to slide, though. They will slide. They've got too much salary cap pressure, and they got pain. What is it when we spoke about this with who do we speak about the other night? Can't remember who it was, but same sort of thing. When you got Kelly, Cornelio, Green, Whitfield, literally taking up 30% of your salary cap, you can't 30-40%. You can't move. It's too hard. It's too hard.
Himmelberg's better down back. Aaron Cadman and Jesse Hogan can't be your forwards. They just can't.
No, definitely not. I don't mind Hogs. I don't mind Hogs. Cadman will slot in nicely, but they've got to get the ball to him somehow. And when you've lost arguably two of your better in terms of Hopper and Taranto, you can't fill those spots really easy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, GWS. I like it, Daz. Who else have you got?
Bulldogs. I would book your holidays about middle of September, son, I reckon. Because you ain't touching the 8, in my opinion.
I agree.
Is your next question going to be someone that slides up? Can I do that?
They're called a riser. Yeah, we're going to have risers. We're going to have a look at risers as well too. So if you want,
we can do. I'll go 2 of each. So there's your 2 sliders, and next up we can go 2 risers if you want.
It's interesting. The Bulldogs have come up a couple of times, mainly for Dunkley leaving. That's the big one because he is their core. But then also the peripheries having Hunter, they're now got to find another wingman to sort of make that up as well too. So he might not have been the ice cream. He might not have been the syrup, but he was just that beautiful little cherry that was just delivering it nicely into the forward line. So Bulldogs have come up a couple of times as well at the moment. So yeah, well done. All right, who's going up? Who's going up the ladder this year?
West Coast for mine.
Okay. Have not been mentioned. You're the first.
I know this is kind of cheating because they only won 2 games last year, but no team will have a bigger difference in wins, either worse or better than the Eagles this year. I've got them winning 8 games.
8 games?
8, at least.
Okay. So West Coast. Interesting.
West Coast. Yep.
Interesting. They've been the least. Actually, they've never been mentioned.
There you go, mate. Just bring in the uniqueness.
I just think they're old. They've got more blokes over 30 than you've got in the up 20s. Like Hearn, Nui, Shuey, McGovern, Cripps, Darling, Gaff, all over the age of 30. Yo, 29. Kelly, 28. And they brought in Jaden Hunt, who's going to be 28 as well. Yeah, I don't know, mate. I don't know. I think that's a ballsy call. I know COVID hit them really hard last year, so we'll give them a free swing on that one. But I want to be doing a lot better than they did even the year before that. They weren't all that flash.
Yeah, that's true. You wanted the big calls, mate.
You are making the big calls. Nothing but the big calls from you, Daz. All right, and who's the other one?
Now, this hurts me because I'm pretty sure that my much better half than I is in her office at the moment, which is very, very close to where I am, and the walls are thin, so I might have to whisper this. Richmond are making the granny.
Oh, okay. Why?
I hate it. Peps.
Why?
They just are.
Because I've got something that I'll tell you in a moment about Richmond.
Okay. Well, that could make me feel stupid, but
no. Oh, it might make you feel stupid, but I could end up getting mega egg on my face on this one.
So if I'm picking the best 26s in the league, so not lists, because some lists fall away. Richmond are up there for mine with Brisbane, Melbourne, Geelong, Sydney.
Okay. Yep.
So that group, that's my upper echelon group, those 5. You should have the top 4, Daz. I don't care. I've got 5. No team responds after getting smashed in the grand final in the last century and by the 21st century. So the Swans are going to be 5th on my rankings here.
Yep,
Brisbane need to be able to win finals to show that they're worth it. And kind of like Port Adelaide in the early 2000s, I'm not going to believe in them until they do it. Oh, it slides there. Geelong, they have to get bad, don't they? Peps, please. They just have to, surely.
I thought that I said last year that they couldn't play night games because the retirement home wouldn't let them out because it was way past their bedtime. Well, didn't I get that egg on my face last year?
Mm.
Do you know what the egg on my face issue will be?
Are you picking them not to make the 8?
They won't even make the 8.
Oh.
And my reasoning behind it is they get injured way too often. Their players at the top of the food chain get injured way too often. And I'll show you what I mean really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Riewoldt, still almost their number 1, 2 forward. Okay. Robbie Tarrant is their fullback. He's going to be 34.
They've got depth there.
Okay. Trent Cotchin.
Not even their 8th best midfielder.
Right, exactly right.
Their 8th best midfielder.
Dusty, the last couple of years, injuries haven't been his best friend. Dylan Grimes has been injured. Yeah. Marlon Pickett hasn't been injured because you remember
not in their best 22.
Dion Prestia, the meatball.
Now he's got midfield help, but he's made a tissue paper. I will agree with that.
Exactly right. Tom Lynch, most overrated forward in the league. Nathan Broad,
second most goals in the second half last year.
Yeah, and have a look who kicked them against.
Mate, you've only got the full backs you can present.
I get that. False economy, mate. I don't care what you do during the year. It's what you do in finals. And I don't know what your poison is, mate, but we can put this out into the sphere. I'll throw you 6. Richmond win a final. So even if they make the 8 and lose, you can still win the bet. What do you reckon? Oh, no. You got to go with your original call. I just don't think they will make it. And I'll tell you what, if they don't make it, they'll end up on something like 12, 13 wins, and it'll be that close for those last couple of spots. It's just history says it has to go. It has to go. And I know they've brought in a couple of guns, but I also look at it from the perspective of they still have a bit of their reliance on that. They've got a lot of superfluous around the ball, if that makes sense, midfield.
Mm.
But at the forward end, Riewoldt's still the man. If he goes down, who then goes forward to support Lynch? And Lynch has had his issues. And maybe you're right with Robbie Tarrant from a backline perspective, but there's just something that the last couple of years, Richmond haven't been able to get their full list, their gun list, like they did in 17, 19 and 20.
I think Richmond's, I think their most important player this year is Noel Bolter. He's going to be their plug and play kind of player. Yep. So if they have Grimes and Tarrant go down, they'll play him back. If Riewoldt goes down, they'll play him forward. So,
but hopefully your partner doesn't hear this either. But and I'll say it, Shai Bolton, come from the clouds. He's just, I love watching Shai. Just
he could kick 60 if he played in the forward 50 for the entire year. Kicked 44 last year. Why are we talking about?
He could have won a Coleman. He could have won the Coleman. Oh no, it's awesome, isn't it? And also, all right, who's taking out the flag? I think you said Richmond a little bit earlier on. Richmond will take out the flag. Is that the only one that you're going with?
No, I said they were making the granny. I didn't say they were winning it.
Oh, okay. I take that back.
Brisbane.
Interesting.
For the hope for Gunners.
So for Gunners. That's what
Gunners.
You're going for.
Sorry. I think I've worded this really badly. Brisbane for Gunners is my heart, but I'll give you my head answer.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the hint. If you move your head back again there, if you move it away, that mob there.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. We just got to get everything right too. So, that's a great thing about our game is that we're 3 weeks away from the first game and nobody knows. Well, maybe Hawthorn and Geelong after the practice match, they've got some sort of idea how things are looking. But it's a practice match. It doesn't mean anything else.
But can you imagine this town, just quickly, can you imagine this town, Melbourne-Richmond grand final? The joint would implode.
Good luck getting the seat. Good luck getting the seat anyway. Oh, my God. It'll be, if that was happening, it'd be Penfolds flowing and Coolabah casks at the other end of the ground. It would be an absolute, it would be Johnny Walker Red Label versus West Coast Coolers at the other end.
You wouldn't be able to get into a tattoo shop or a cheese board anywhere. It'd be outstanding.
It would be Shivers versus Woodstock. That's what it would get down to if it was. Hey, now tell us what's going on with the podcast, and more importantly, I shouldn't say more importantly, but your massive YouTube channel as well too, which is going gangbusters.
Yeah, beautiful. We'll start with Talking Hawks because they're the reason that I'm on here, and I really appreciate you having me on, Peps. But yeah, Talking Hawks, connecting Hawthorn fans from all around the globe. I mean, we had someone listening in from Portugal yesterday, live streaming at like 2:00 in the morning over there. Simply extraordinary. So Hawthorn fans, Talking Hawks, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and your favourite podcasting platform. Can't get rid of us if we were a bad smell, mate, let me tell you. And exciting announcement as well for Talking Hawks fans. We are going to be having a season launch in-person function. More details to come, but we do have maybe some Hawk, Box Hill, and AFLW representatives showing details to be announced soon. But make sure you're following us on all socials to get those details as soon as they drop.
Nothing but the best for the best.
Absolutely. And yeah, Daz Talks Footy on YouTube only. Where it's me in the office that Peps can currently see, but no one else, just giving a lot of predictions, a lot of reactions, and looking forward to the footy in hopefully an entertaining way and an engaging way. We're almost at 900 subscribers at the moment, so I'm hoping to get there before
get into 1,000.
round
get
one.
This man monetized. That's what it's all about. Let's put some cash in his pocket. He's putting in the effort. Support him as well too. It's a cracking channel as well, and I'll put in a link to the channel in the show notes for you all as well too. So you can get in there, have a look, because like seriously, I say it at the end of every one of these episodes, we do it because we love footy and we do it because we get to talk to just amazing people left, right and centre who we're not here to get headlines. We're not here to throw anyone under the bus. We're doing it because we love our clubs and we love the sport of AFL. And as it's sitting back, all these Hawthorn guys going, tell you what, we're lucky if this is a guy representing the Hawks too. So congratulations to yourself, Matty, all the guys down there at Talking Hawks, because the relationship that I've had with your podcast over the last 3 years is amazing, and I appreciate everything through to it. So we have one last thing, Daz, and one last thing to do. Daz, from Daz Talks Footy and Talking Hawks, the host with the most of the 2023 Hawks season preview. How do you want your footy?
Lace out.
There you go, listeners. I reckon the Hawks might surprise it, and I could be very, very surprised as well. Enjoy the season. Thanks for listening to our latest episode. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on iTunes. I'm your host, Chris Pepper, and with Jamie Wallis, we give you your footy how you want it. Peace out.